as I look at the preview monitor, I am seeing Lionel. Lionel, my friend, how are you, sir?
Who cares how I am? How are you? I've missed you. I wish you health and peace, and I hope you're doing hale and hearty and fine and in fighting trim, as we say.
Thank you, Lionel. I am doing fine. After it's been 5 months since my bypass, and I feel fantastic. I just feel great. It's an amazing thing. Science, technology, the medical industry. It's fascinating what they've done. It's really fascinating that they did this procedure back in the 30s and 40s. I don't know how anyone survived it. Me going through it and seeing all the science and high-tech equipment they use, I don't know how they did that, but it is a miracle.
Did you find, first of all, you're very lucky. Most people who have, put it this way, their first, how do I say this? Not most, and I'm not a physician or anything like that, but this is a particular interesting subject that I'm fascinated by. But to many people, the first sign of any cardiac problem is death. It's one of those things that does not necessarily lend itself to any condition at time. You can go into a doctor and look at an EKG, and he'll say, "Looks fine to me. You're in great health." No, you just haven't had a heart attack. You could be occluded at 90% and have no angina, nothing's bothering you. You might be pre-thrombotic, who knows? What's also interesting is that diet and lifestyle, which I talk to people about, that the vast majority of people who have problems, that's it. It's not congenital. It's something that, and it's not because, and it has nothing to do with weight. It has nothing to do with any of that stuff. People also have this idea that for some reason, how do I say this? I saw this, there's a great doctor, Caldwell Esselstyn and others. He showed this blocked, this coronary, the lumen was almost completely covered. There was just a hole where, and he said, this person lived to be forever. That's not a problem, because that is a hard kind of a calcified, like a Chernobyl kind of plaque. It's that soft plaque that's the problem. That all of a sudden, through inflammation in the endothelium, it raises up like a pimple. And then one day, because of the blood that goes past it, all of a sudden it pops. And that's the clot. That's it. And nobody wants to talk about that because they want to say, So I'm glad you're alive.
It's an amazing thing. The body's amazing. In our fragility, there is an amazing resilience, and sometimes, definitely, the ability to regenerate and heal itself, and even recovering from a surgery like that. The breastbone was sawed in half.
Yes. And did you have a pillow? Did you have your little pillow?
I did. I had my pillow from Langone.
Everything that involves laughing, any kind of straining, the Valsalva maneuver. Interesting thing about this. Let me just talk about this for a moment. People, unless something like this happens to you, there's so much that people can do, and I'm still saying diet and lifestyle. I don't care what anybody says. This is something that we could talk about forever. Did you know that in 1958, when they did a study on prostate cancer in Japan?
I didn't even think they had it back then.
Well, it's funny you say that. In 1958, they had prostate cancer. They looked at it, and they had 18 cases. 18. Today, by virtue of the introduction of the Western diet, it's up to normal. Have you ever heard about the Mediterranean diet?
I've heard it. I couldn't tell you what it is.
You and the rest of the world. It's this thing that people believe in that says Mediterranean, Italy, wine,
Olive
olive
oil.
oil, pasta, yeah, that's it. Wine, olive oil, and they just this is the thought process. Don't ever say, "Hey, look this up." Who came up with the Mediterranean diet? Who was it? It was Ansel Keys, 1953. Remember the K rations? That was him. And he
Oh
looked at a
yeah.
group of people. And by the way, there's like 22 or so states, countries that border the Mediterranean. Which one was he talking about? Turns out it was Crete. And Crete, by the way, suffered terribly under Nazi occupation. And you know what they didn't have in Crete at the time? Livestock and stuff. And they had to walk, and they had to eat fruits and nuts. And anyway, they decided, let's look at this population in 1953, basically 8 years after the war. And son of a gun, they were in great shape. And somebody said, aha, olive oil. I don't know where, I think it's a Bertolli group or somebody. And he said, olive oil. He never said olive oil. I mean, he never said anything. He just, so people came up with this thing that, olive oil is very good for you. It's a very good fat. It's very good. It's extra virgin. And it's a good fat. It's a heart healthy fat. It's 100% fat. You don't need it. Anyway, I've been going through this. So I've been plant-based now for about 15 years.
Right. You don't eat meat.
Do not eat meat. Do not eat meat, animal products. And I'm telling you, there are parts of the world, all I know, if you read China Study and others, there are parts of the world where there is no, and we're not going to talk about the whole time about this, but obviously, but there are parts of the world where there are no cardiac incidents. There's instances. There are parts of the world where there's no breast cancer. I mean, there's the way we eat is, and what they're doing in the black community. If I could drop the BMI alone by 10% in the black community, I could stop. Think about this: diabetes and hypertension, renal failure, heart, cardiac.
Yeah.
We're killing ourselves with what we eat. That's all I'm saying. Not even
a lot
booze.
of processed food and the horrible fast food, and it's just become a thing. What's odd is people live longer on average than they used to, but I think obviously that's based on medical technology getting better over the course of the years. Now, it seems like a great plan. You pump people full of stuff that makes them sick, and then you come up with great ways to keep them alive and treat them for years and years and years. And you're making some serious bank as far as that's concerned. I think that was Rockefeller. Didn't Rockefeller come up with that whole scenario of building hospitals and advancing medicine and medications, and he made a shitload of money off of that.
Well, you said something interesting, and one of them is we are living longer. I say we're dying later. And there are people that I know who are living. I don't know necessarily about the quality of their life. I don't know if they have all of their faculties, if they're happy, if they're angry. Have you ever seen people? I'll tell you, there's one thing you can see when you just look around for older people. You see very few people smoking, if at all.
True.
You don't see very obese people, and maybe sometimes when you get older, being ambulatory. And also, by the way, it's just genes, and it's just a lot of other stuff. And let me just tell you something. You're just a lucky guy, because let me tell you something. You can go to any there's a wonderful expression that graveyards are filled with indispensable men. And if Washington's dead, and if Jefferson's dead, you're no big deal. And the very fact that you're here, one wrong move. They always talk about the widowmaker. Forget the widowmaker. One ischemic moment. One moment, because who was it? Newland said that we are an obligate aerobe. Anytime that oxygen is in any way interrupted, you get ischemia. It could be just a mild carotid, a little bit of a stroke. Your heart could have been fine, You could have had a stroke. You could have
Oh,
had something that, and
terrible.
you're just, and there's nothing special about you. Might have been the particular way, the amount of, maybe the degree of the occlusion, the amount of time, the time it took somebody to respond, your health, who knows?
Yeah.
It's not God. It's not, I think it's happenstance. It's a crapshoot. There is no reason why you're here. None.
Like everything.
No
Like
reason.
everything. It's, there are a bunch of crossroads that you encounter, and each one would have led to a different outcome.
Yes.
But, whatever. You take those marbles and you put it down a Plinko machine type thing, and,
Yes.
where does it come out at the bottom? I
Have
don't know.
you pulled any, or learned, or grasped any like moments of epiphany moments where you realize it? Some people have it in religious moments. Sometimes it's life threatening. Sometimes the birth of a child. Something, who knows? But these moments where where it hits you, and you
Mm.
realize, oh, I get it. I
Yeah,
understand now.
yeah, I did. When I go to a bar and can't drink, that's the no. No, I
Are you
really,
off the hooch?
I'm not really, yeah, I could drink some wine, a little bit of wine with dinner kind of a thing. The doctor said, doctor's orders. But no,
Wait,
I
look at your
really
doctor.
haven't
Look at your
had,
doctor. Let me tell you what your doctor told you. Look, do eat. Look, just watch what you eat in moderation, right? He just told you, right? He told you this. Just a chicken. White. He gave you this. That's stupid. Chicken's the worst. Stay away from this.
really. I love
Oh,
chicken.
I'm gonna send you some stuff. It's gonna blow your mind. Blow your
Really?
mind. But let's talk about the drinking for a moment.
Yeah.
You know what you miss about the drinking?
What was that?
You're not being drunk.
No.
You'll now realize how boring all of your friends are.
Yes.
You're thinking to myself, I spent hours with this.
It's
This is the
yes.
dumbest.
It's very difficult to carry on a conversation with someone that's been drinking when you haven't been drinking. Very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
There's
Uh,
also a procedure of it. It's like with smoking, the taking the pack out, taking the
yeah,
smell of the cellophane, the
it's a
thing,
ritual.
the lighter, on the phone in the morning, in the John, having the first cup of coffee, going, you know what I mean? It's this. You
Yep.
never realize how classically conditioned you were to different things, and going to a bar and realizing that you are going to get this far into kind of like reversible mental illness. You'll go back, but it's like being a little crazy, and you're hanging around crazy people,
Yeah.
and it's fun, and you're laughing, and then you realize, okay, and then somebody says, no more.
Yeah.
What if I said no more music? No more,
I could
but you
do
know what?
without
You're
music.
going to feel better.
I could do without music. But beers and a couple of shots of Jack Daniels. It's just like I don't sit there craving it and shaking all
Yeah,
day,
you do.
and I don't
Yeah,
I
you do.
don't think
Yeah, you do.
about it.
Yeah, you do.
But
You're
during
doing it
those
now.
times, yeah, during those times, you're just kind of like, oh, it would be nice to be able to do that. But it's what it is, Lionel. It's what it is. This is the life I now lead.
You know what's funny? There was a study one time that said, and it's funny how we learn or we interpret certain things. There was a study that said that people who have one glass of wine a day are the healthiest people
Mm,
compared to others. And they said, wow, so that must mean that one glass a day is good for you.
mm.
Until scientist, one doctor said, wait a minute, what about people who don't drink anything? He said, never thought about that. So we looked at those, they were even healthier. And what they
Uh,
surmised was that anybody who was able to just have one drink a day has discipline. And that
right.
discipline shows up elsewhere.
Yeah.
Diet, exercise, whatever it is. So it wasn't the fact that they were drinking wine. It's the exhibited inability to control their environment as evidenced by this. And
I've seen
therefore,
this. I've seen examples like this over the course of the years, and I came to the same conclusion. One of them was families that sit down for dinner are happier than families that don't sit down for dinner. Now, if you're beating the crap out of each other and you're miserable, but somehow you gather everyone up to sit and have dinner, it's not going to change how miserable you are and how unhappy of a family you are. Having dinner together as a family shows that you do act as a family unit. You have
right,
respect for each other and for traditions that that family has. So it's not the fact that you're having dinner, it's why you're having dinner together that affects the rest of the family.
right, right. It's the ancillary or the secondary aspect about something. It's not it's not what people think. I also am so interested by virtue of the fact that if I went and I said, hold him down, this is you, of course, and I get this, and I cut your sternum in half, and I cut your rib cage, and I pull it like this, and I cut off the right bleeders, and I go in and I grab something from your leg, and I move it, and I go, hold him down, and I do it. Hold him down, with a bullet or a piece of stick.
Right, right.
Some Civil War. Okay, you'll probably die from the shock of that.
Sure.
Now, if I do it in a hospital, same thing, but it's a little quieter. Surgeon has his music on. I say, shall we begin? Yeah. Doing fine, Doc. But I'm doing the same thing to you. I'm still ripping you open.
Yes.
I'm tearing you. It's just calmer. Why do you live for this? Is a controlled stabbing. It's controlled mutilation. How is it?
Controlled mutilation.
Yes, synchronized, choreographed mutilation.
Yes.
Now, how about your faith? How are you in the God department?
I have my ideas about a supreme being or entity, or I don't know what form it is or what energy it is. But as far as traditional religions go, like I was raised a Catholic, I don't put much credence in the organized popular religions. Yeah.
Oh, cut the shit. You're just like the most. You don't believe anything. I'm not either. I'm a non-theist. You always strive for the same thing. As far as there being kind of a deist, kind of a supreme being. I believe that maybe perhaps there is something that sees an overarching, but as far as it having a control for me personally, everybody starts off with this. Who's talking about a supreme being? We're not even talking. It's the same. It's the same thing. I don't know. And then organized religion. Say, who's talking about organized religion? I'm talking about very simple. For example, I said, Anthony, do you believe in love? Well, prostitution, and I believe that sex work. Sex work. Wait a minute. Where is it? We're not talking about that. The thing is that you believe somebody said, "Let Anthony live."
No, I don't think that. I'm not talking about a supreme being in a something with a conscience that is akin to our own. I'm not talking that at all. I mean some type of, it could be some type of just energy source that got the whole ball rolling. I don't know.
What does that do for you now, though?
It doesn't. I'm not looking for it to do anything for me now. That's for sure.
It's not.
I think there was some cataclysmic event that started the whole show. I don't think anyone had a plan. I don't think it was 7 days of God taking a rest and then doing this. And I think some form of energy had to have started the whole thing. So I'm kind of, as a human being,
That's
you can't
comforting.
fathom.
But
Yes,
that's
sir.
comforting. It's like, hey, Doc, anything you can tell me? Yeah, Anthony. There probably was some form of initial energy, some spark that got this whole thing going. Yeah, but what about me? I don't know about you. I can't help you in that department. far as I know, I mean, it's a complete crapshoot. But initially, you're talking about a deist point of view. This is where God exists, but there's no connection with it. Doesn't get involved. I'm thinking, what's the
Right.
point of it? See, I love this. They always say, don't talk about politics and religion. What else is there to talk about?
True.
What else is there to talk? Let's talk about things like, okay, you want to talk about the original? What happened before the Big Bang? What happened before birth? Or Stephen Hawking says, what's south of the South Pole?
We're not capable of understanding that. It's like trying to see something in the fourth dimension. We just can't do it. We're not advanced enough to do it. And I don't think we ever will be if we are still the same form and whatnot, no matter how far into the future it is. I don't think we'll ever understand things like what was before, and if the universe has no end, and if it does, what's behind it. All those questions are so out of our realm of understanding that I don't really toil over them.
I don't tell. Listen, I think it's fascinating. They're being answered right now, and you can see it on YouTube. And thank God for Lex Friedman, who is getting closer to it than anything else. You talked about something which is it's great. When you get older, let's face it. Look, I know a lot of the people you talk to, and I don't kid myself. This is a breath of fresh air for you. Talking to me is probably nirvana compared to some of the cretins that you speak with on a regular basis. And I know they're great people. They're friends of yours.
I just wish I could have a couple of drinks before I do it, but. No, of course, Lionel. I love having you on.
I like what they say sometimes. Like, well, why do you have to have a drink? Because it's fun. What are you talking about? They act like you're going through this slavish hell of, this stuff tastes so bad and it's so bitter and I gotta. No, it's fun and, Can I jump to a breaking news story? Can we talk about
something? Of course, please. That's why you're here.
I think half of our audience is saying, "Oh God, these people are talking about this." Which I say, the hell with them. Who cares?
Exactly.
My show. Tucker Carlson just secured an interview with Vladimir Putin, and only in this miserable country is the fact that a journalist is performing journalism. Oh, that's a story. That kills me. So what?
It is
good for
astounding
him.
That I'm reading on X, Twitter, that people are so upset about this. They're labeling Tucker Carlson a traitor and pumping up the war criminal Vladimir Putin, listening to his lies. And all Tucker is saying, because he made a pretty concise statement on what he's doing and why. He wants the other side's story out there, and then you as a person can consider what he's saying and decipher if you believe it's a lie, the truth. I don't think Tucker's selling Putin's point of view, and definitely not as much as the mainstream media is selling Zelensky's point of view.
But what if he was selling Putin's point of view? What if he was selling Putin's
right?
So what? There we go. Just to prove they're still there. Just to prove the editing crew is. Throw one out. It's been about an hour. Throw one out there.
Throw a graphic out there.
I was going to put some pictures of God up there, but I don't know. They weren't good enough.
Yeah, right. Well, they're too pixelated for this. Well, there's that's one story, which is just, look, the bottom line of this is this. In 2014, and Putin said, look, I'm telling you right now, bottom line is you're not going to put a NATO country on my border. And that's it. Mm-hmm. And that's the rest of it. And I'm just telling you right now. And in 1962, we decided that we were going to almost go to war with Russia over the Monroe Doctrine, which basically told Russia, you're not going to put missiles in Cuba, and we will fight you to the end of civilization. We'll Oppenheimer your ass if you don't. Now, we understood that completely. We were ready to go. We had an embargo. We were ready to go to war. Putin's doing exactly the same thing. And immediately in right after the initiation of this in 2022, in February, when this started, he and Zelensky were talking. Who came in? Boris Johnson said, "Oh, no. Oh, no, you're not going to talk to him." What? no, you're not going to work this out. And he said, okay.
Yeah.
Now, Putin put in about 195,000 troops so far. Putin said, if I wanted to take over, I mean, in 1939, when Hitler, when it moved into Poland, the west part of Poland, because the Russians were going to take the east, he had about 1.5 million troops just for Western Poland. Putin knows enough about this. He would probably need 3 million today to take over and occupy. He's not even close to.
Why do you think? Do you think he just doesn't have that kind of resources? Doesn't have the manpower, the machines?
He doesn't want it. He doesn't want it. He's never wanted it. He said, "I want you to stop. I want you to stop this nonsense. You're not going to be in NATO." He doesn't want to recreate. He had a line. He said, "Anybody who doesn't miss the Soviet Union doesn't have a heart. Anybody who wants to go back to the Soviet Union doesn't have a brain." And it's that simple. There's nothing. But they created this because our own Victoria Nuland and the NATO crowd said, "Oh, no, 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 no. We're itching for a fight. We want him." Look, if you want to run NATO is such a scam. It's like having a McDonald's franchise. If you want to go into McDonald's, you got to buy the napkins, the cups, the this and that. If you want to go into NATO, because remember, no Russia, no NATO, actually no Soviet Union. So this boogeyman has to be there. And if you want to get in, you got to buy all of our weapons, all of our stuff from our military industrial company. Come on, it's a scam.
It makes perfect sense when you put it that way. They need the boogeyman to justify the weapons, the money, the membership. Without the Soviet Union, NATO should have ended right there. But they're continuing. Russia is still the evil empire. It's a business. It's a business move, strictly business, Michael.
Right after after the fall of the Soviet Union, really in 93, really, Kennan and other people. I mean, this was the Soviet containment architect who said, "All right, that's it, folks. Wrap it up. NATO's no good. We don't need it. Back off. There's no more Soviet Union." So listen to this one. You're gonna love this. So Gorbachev said, "All right, initially, I'll make a deal with you. We'll reunify, Berlin and take down the wall and all this stuff. But you got to promise me, you're not going to move one step east of Germany. Got it? NATO is not going to move one step. You're not going to move one foot east." They said, "Okay." Well, in 1999, there was like 17 new NATO countries in 2004. And they said, "Wait a minute. You lied. You made a deal." Years later, they said, "There's no record of that ever conversation we made." Well, there was. They found the papers in the George Washington University archives. But here's the deal. Listen to how slimy these people are. When Gorbachev said, "Look, you made a deal with me," and he said, "Excuse me. I made a deal with the Soviet Union. There is no Soviet Union anymore. You're just Russia." And he goes, "Oh, come on. What a dick move that was. What? You know exactly." All right. So Putin said, "Listen, since there's no more Soviet Union and we're just Russia, can we join NATO too? So we can defend ourselves against the invisible Soviet Union?"
Right.
And they said no. He goes, "What about the EU?" They said no. They said, "Wait a minute. What's wrong with us?" "What do you mean what's wrong? You're the reason we have NATO. You can't join us." He goes, "Wasn't it better to have me on board and I know what I'm doing?" And I mean, it's these people are living in Boris and Natasha world. What is this Russophobic, red baiting nonsense? This is ridiculous.
You know what it reminds me of? When a child is afraid that there's a boogeyman in the closet, the parent can do one of two things. He can explain to him and show him that there isn't a boogeyman, or he could shut the door and put a chair against it, and the chair is holding back the boogeyman.
Right.
That's what NATO is. NATO has to be there as the chair because we because now you have to buy the chair. You have to own the chair. If you just explain it, then you could leave the door open and there's no problem. So that's what they're doing with NATO. NATO is useless right now. But like you said, selling weapons to all these countries. Here, if you want to join the club, you have to buy this amount of missiles, this many tanks, this, and it's a money-making venture.
Absolutely. You know, Eisenhower was absolutely correct. Same thing, by the way, has happened. Look, it comes down to simply this. There's no... Robert McNamara said the best thing. He said, look, you must understand that in order for you to be involved in any kind of foreign international relations, IR, you have to know what you have to have empathy for people. You have to understand what is it that they want. What do they want? Why are they acting this way? What do they want in the first place? Give you a perfect example right now. Have you talked to any of your friends about Israel and Palestine?
A couple of times. I talked to Gavin. We talk about it on the show on Wednesday.
Stay away from it. Just stay away.
Wait, I shouldn't even discuss it with anybody?
No. Don't even think about it, because that is absolutely off the skids nuts. And the thing about it, though, is I want to start off with this rule. Number one, I'm an American. I frankly, what's the word? I don't give a shit about these countries. I really don't. I mean, whatever you want to do, hey, look, get along, but nobody's worrying about us. I'm living in New York City. Apparently, you've bailed. And we are living in a world. I'm not living in a third world country. I'm living in a fourth, fifth, in a whatever it is. I'm living in a place where illegal aliens are beating up cops and being let go. So I don't care. I want some of that money that was going to Zelensky. I want it here for state-of-the-art, police. I don't care about it. Whatever you want to do. You want to go into Ukraine, whatever it is, fine. You're not going to get our money. Do what you want. And listen, by the way, if you want to help Zelensky, go ahead. Not my money. Do whatever you want.
Unfortunately, it is our money, and they are spending it. They're supposed to be representative of the people. I don't know if the majority, and I know we're not a majority rule government, but if you're truly representing your constituency, you wouldn't be sending money over to Ukraine or Israel. But, and you saw the bill, right? You read the immigration, the border bill that has billions for Ukraine and Israel attached, holding the border hostage for payoff to Zelensky.
Right. Now, as far as this is what my position is. Stop killing people. I don't want people killed in whether it's Palestine, Gaza, whatever. I don't want people killed. Now, if you want to work out the history, who was there first, Palestine versus Zionism, fine. I don't know anything about that. That's not my thing. Knock yourself out. Stop the murder. Stop this. Stop it. And by the way, if I do say something like that, I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not an anti-Zionist. I was the one who was against my own country in Vietnam. I have a history of being against war, even especially against my own country. Why do I have to be on, tenterhooks and be very careful about what I say when it comes to my country? I'm brutal, but I've got to be careful. And how is it that these people on college campuses, full of shit, again, would pardon my French. So anyway, but if they want to get up and if they want to advocate whatever it is, okay, as long as they're not targeting individual people, how is it that if they at a college somehow are against this, they're anti-Semitic and their particular freedom, okay, they're feeling uncomfortable, okay? But if you turn around and you say, excuse me, I feel uncomfortable about my transgender, you snowflake, you powder puff, shut the hell up, you wimpy. But you can feel, but I just want consistency. And by the way, whoever's wrong, you're wrong. I don't care who it is. I'm not worried about this. I'm an American citizen. So you do whatever you want. But this world right now and by the way, there's two worlds. One, you hear regular Western media that speak about Israel, which is fine. Then you have other people that, frankly, before October the 7th, I wouldn't have listened to a word they said.
Right.
Never. Amy Goodman? What are you talking about? Now she's like, wait a minute. What was that? Go ahead, Amy. Go ahead. You know what? Norman Finkelstein couldn't be found. He was like the D.B. Cooper of he was like, I remember him. He's not here anymore. Now he's the hottest commodity in town. Judge Napolitano did some of the best stuff. Max Blumenthal, Aaron Monte, The Gray Zone, John Mearsheimer, Jeffrey Sachs, The Duran. These are Mearsheimer is my hero. He's brilliant. These aren't liberals. These are Colonel McGregor. They're the most Scott Ritter. Listen to what these people are saying. They make more sense than anything. And what do we have over here? Poor Bobby Kennedy, who doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He is so lost in the woods, it's not even funny. It's brutal, my friend.
Not a Bobby Kennedy fan?
He was okay for a while. He's absolutely 100% correct regarding Ukraine, but his methodology doesn't apply involving Palestine and whatever. I'm telling you, there he is. Quick, give us a picture of Bobby Kennedy. Do something. Jesus, it's been an hour. Just put a picture up.
I have a picture for every person's name. You just keep going through them too quick. Stick to one guy.
Kennedy Jr. Oh, that Bobby Kennedy Jr. Oh, okay.
Right. You might have mistaken him for RFK, that version of Bob.
Let me tell you what's going to happen also here. These are the guys that by the way, tell your crack team, your team on crack, to get a hold of this one. This is called the Gate of Grief. There's this Bab el Mandeb, the Gate of Grief, or the Gate of Tears. This is the strait between Yemen on the Arab Peninsula and Djibouti and Eritrea, the Horn of Africa. Okay, because Americans say, look, we're Americans. We don't know what the hell you're talking about. We don't know anything about, the world. What are you talking about? We don't know anything.
First of all, it's a sphere. It's not flat, so you don't know what you're talking about.
Yes. Eratosthenes, I think, just proved that. But anyway, so the Houthis from Ansar Allah. Now, good luck. Here we go. Right there. You see that right there? This was your coronary artery. Think of this as your coronary artery. And that little part right there, this is what the Houthis control right there. And they're saying, if anybody comes through here, if you're Chinese, if you're Russian, no problem. Now, if you want to show, if you go up a lazy river, up at the top of that's the Suez Canal, that's the Red Sea.
Right.
They're basically saying, we may not look like much to you, and we may have some drones or whatever, but we're going to stop everything. Do you know what this does to insurance, to traffic? And Iran's going to turn around and say, we're going to get you in the Strait of Hormuz. If we scuttle a ship there, that's it. See up at the top, the Suez Canal? That's what they control. And the Houthis are furious. They are furious.
What's their beef?
They are 100% not in bed with, logically, ideologically connected to Palestine.
Okay.
All their messages are brothers. So what do? We bomb them. That's good. Good. That's good.
Oh boy.
That's gonna help things. How about who was the fellow? Was it Hezbollah? I don't remember. We killed him right before they were negotiating, trying to negotiate the release of the hostages. You don't want to see what Hezbollah is going to do. See, we have this idea that these people run around in like Toyota Jeeps, wearing sandals and old rifles. They don't really know what's going on. No. They're very serious and very scared. And if something happens here, if all of a sudden somebody decides to send some, I don't know, some group over here to impress upon because as far as they're concerned, we're doing nothing but contributing to their enemies. And by the way, remember, I don't have any dog in this fight.
No.
I'm just telling you, this is what you're doing. This is who is involved.
I think that's most people.
You've got people. This is you've got militias. You've got Al-Aqsa Brigade. You've got Ansar Allah in Yemen. You've got folks. You've got in Iraq, in Syria. They're just ready for something, and we just keep blasting them without any idea. Like people say, well, whatever I guess Americans don't know anything. They don't know the.
What do you make of the drone strike that killed 3 American troops and the response? How does that figure into this whole mess and what seems to be trying to get a real hot war going?
Tragic. What are they doing there? These were specialists. These were. I don't know if you get a picture of them. These were 3 Americans trying to. These weren't warriors. They're doing their best. They're going to the military, maybe to save money or to have a career, and they're basically they're going to be forgotten. But the question is, what are we doing? Look at these 3. Do you think that do they look like the fighting force? God bless them, but nobody's going to remember their names. Nobody's going to.
No.
Here's something for you. Let me give you one. Hang on. Listen to this. We have 750 U.S. bases in 80 countries and colonies around the world.
Ugh.
750 U.S. bases in 80 countries. Why is that?
Why?
Where does that come from?
You know what that must cost? But
guess who
I'm sure certain people, it doesn't cost anything. They're making money from all these countries. Just having an American presence there, they probably bill them and make money off of it, while the taxpayers have to foot the bill for the actual logistics of having troops in all these countries.
Here we go. Ask anybody you know about BRICS countries. BRICS. I think we talked about this before. BRICS countries. And let me see. Here we go. Let me give you the. Oh, here we go. Yes. Okay. The BRICS. Now it's BRICS is an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. BRICS. This is the new contingent that is, I guess, competes with us, so to speak, from the Western contingent. Now, BRICS plus 6, throw in Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, the Emirates. Now,
quite the drop-off after the North American trade agreement thing. Quite the drop-off when Somalia is in there.
Now, just think about what we're doing. Iran, Saudi Arabia. There are people right now who are friends who have never, ever, ever, ever thought of joining forces. And by the way, BRICS, every other international country or news organization knows about this. This is what Klaus Schwab talked about. Is the Great Reset. This is the whole thing. By the way, let me give you some great words of wisdom. A couple of things here. This kind of describes. By the way, today is 273 days until the election.
Yes. We're almost there.
There was
very close.
It was a great movie, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, John Ford. And the line I love is, when the legend becomes fact, print the legend. And that's who we are. That's this world we live in, about myth, about war, about reality, about health, about the heart, about diet, about drinking, about history, about the law. We just come up with these fanciful ideas. And when the legend becomes fact, we print the legend. We just repeat these things that we basically that we create. Scott Fitzgerald said the test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in the mind simultaneously and still retain the ability to function. We can't do this. You can't say, for example, well, Israel certainly has the right to exist. Israel has a right to self-defense. Israel has a right to protect itself. But then again, Israel can't necessarily go in and just mow the lawn, so to speak, of an entire area and kill 28,000 people, including. But it has the right, but it doesn't have the right to. It's one or the other. You can't do both.
It's got to be one or the other. And by the way, if you say that either one of those, you're either a Nazi who does not believe Israel should exist, or you're a murderous Israeli who wants to wipe all of Gaza off the map. There's no in between. There's no, hey, I absolutely believe Israel should exist, but first of all, I don't think we should be giving them any money. They seem to be doing fine on their own. And, I could disagree with some of their methods as far as dealing with Palestinians, but you just say that, and you're the most anti-Semitic. You're Hitler. It's an amazing thing. Yeah, they can't look at both sides and come out with something reasonable. One or the other.
There's the Academy Awards are coming out, and Oppenheimer may do very well. This is the movie that we're celebrating of a man who basically came up with a device, and the people who advised Truman not to use it, namely MacArthur, Stimson, Curtis LeMay, Eisenhower. I mean, not exactly a bunch of lily-livered folks.
Oh.
But these are the ones who said, there he is. By the way, on the right, check his age. When he was at his very, very most advanced, he was like 62. He just... It's like Hitler was only 55 when Lincoln was 55, 56.
So young.
They didn't age well then. But anyway.
No, very hard life.
We dropped 2 devices on Japan. We firebombed virtually. We torched and incinerated versus virtually because Japan was a wooden country, if you will.
Yes.
We burned everything. Now, you're telling me the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, has said that Israel is involved in genocide based upon the Genocide Convention. Okay, because it basically targets in whole or in part a nation, a group of people, and what have you. We dropped 2, count them, 2 atom bombs, knowing what, maybe the first one we didn't know. Okay, I mean, I think that we did some testing. And by the way, one of my favorite lines is supposedly, or supposedly, as people say, Oppenheimer said when he saw the first detonation, quote, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." He's quoting Vishnu. Now, you know and I know, he said, holy shit, the first time you saw a bomb, and nobody's ever seen an atom bomb, and you said, yes, I am become, yeah, okay, sure. So anyway, so we're celebrating.
Holy shit would have been.
Yeah. We're celebrating this guy when what? Wait a minute. Well, it was no, it wasn't necessary. It was everybody said it. Anyway. So Israel banned, Israel genocide. We genocide. We went to Vietnam. I don't know how many tons of what was that about? Well, we weren't trying to eliminate the Vietnamese people per se. Really?
Well, it was all about the dominoes. They would say, well, if you let one fall, and then eventually the whole world will be communist. And back then there was a little fear of communism, just a tad. So I don't think that's actually why. I think that was the excuse they used. But again, it was probably very lucrative for some of these politicians and corporate tycoons, weapons makers, all those people made a lot of money on Vietnam.
Look, there was a lot of guys who came out of World War II. We were feeling full of ourselves. Korea was just a waste of time. We kind of forgot that one. By the way, there was about 53,000 Americans killed in 3 years compared to 55,000 or so. In 10 years, it was almost like 3 times the death.
Yeah. Brutal.
Korea was just, oh my God, it was, we just, MASH was all we know about that.
Yeah.
That's all we know.
Looks fun. The doctors look like they're having fun. So that was Korea. That was the entire Korean War.
So we, again, have these absolute, I don't know what this, how we, look, the only way you can pull this off is if Americans don't have any idea of what's going on. Can I change the subject very quickly, which is, I want to throw this one out.
You're known for it.
Because I turned you on to geoengineering. Now you're into that.
Yes.
You know about that.
100%.
I remember and it was called, and if you look up chemtrails, it's a conspiracy theory. If you look up geoengineering.
Lionel, I am 100% now on the geoengineering. And,
I remember that when you showed me pictures of a B-52 and you said, I said, yes, those were exhaust, but we're not talking about that. Anyway, you've come around.